Good morning, good evening, good night, folks. This is your Football Scout 365 host, Woody Massey, and I'm here with analyst Brandon Lundberg today. And guys, without further ado, this is After Further Review. Today we are talking about another duo. We've done Chris Olave, we did Garrett Wilson, same video. And now we're going to do the national champion, Georgia Bulldogs.
We could talk about a million players on this team, and we chose Zamir White and James Cook.
Probably the least, the lower drafted tier of this team.
Yeah.
But they're running backs. They make a fantasy difference. So people can...
Yeah. If you're looking at it from a fantasy football perspective, which a lot of our viewers, I imagine, are coming here to get a little bit more analysis and insight from that regard. These are two guys to 100% keep an eye on, especially after watching them at the NFL Combine. You flip on their film, you see their versatility and their speed, especially James Cook being more of a receiving threat than obviously Zamir White is. You look at Zamir White's 40 time, his 4.4 40, something that to me was completely unexpected. I did not expect him to run a 4.4 40. Him showing that, and then you watch his film, you watch his burst, and all of that. And then you go to the combine, you see the field drills and you see the footwork. Mm-hmm. I was so impressed. Both these guys have excellent footwork. You can tell that they're very well coached. The pedigree is there. These guys, two very, very good running backs.
Well, when you say the pedigree is there, in Georgia, the new running back in recent times, like obviously you have athletes in the NFL right now, off the top of my head, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. Yeah. Todd Gurley, MVP. He was, before his knee. Then also you had Noshawn Moreno a few years ago. And then you have, looking back, you have some legends on this list. Herschel Walker.
Yep.
Probably the Russell Wilson trade was probably the biggest trade since Herschel Walker and Ricky Williams. And then Garrison Hurst, he was third in Heisman voting. He had a few great years for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Noshawn Moreno. Then we had DeAndre Swift, of course, with the Lions. He's been doing great. Terrell Davis. Rodney Hampton, throwback. He was
Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Robert Edwards, the one-year wonder from the New England Patriots before they got Curtis Martin. Then he blew out his knee playing in the beach flag football game in the NFL Pro Bowl weekend event.
Oh, that's
awful, man. Never played again, yeah. Rough. But needless to say, when you think about Georgia offense, you think about running backs. These guys have produced probably the most starters we've seen from a university. Wisconsin's up there too, in the modern era at least. The question is, are Zamir White or James Cook, are they going to reach this? Tell us about each prospect. Let's start with Zamir White.
Yeah, we'll start off with Zamir White here. He's from North Carolina, Laurinburg, North Carolina. He attended high school at Scotland County High School.
Scotland.
He's a 5-star recruit.
He's a Highlander.
Yeah, there you go. Little Outlander there. Shout out. So White was a 5-star recruit in the 2018 class. He was rated as the 9th overall prospect nationally, according to 24/7 Sports. He was considered the top running back in the class of 2018 overall, according to 24/7 Sports as well. So a highly heralded athlete coming out of high school. He played football. He ran track. He also had a lot of offers, by the way, coming out of high school, you would imagine, right? The usual suspects, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. He ultimately chose Georgia as his final destination. No pun intended. The one big notable thing about Zamir White, when I was researching him that had come up, he has torn both of his ACL. One of his ACLs in high school, and then his freshman year at Georgia, he tore the other ACL. So something to think about, and something that I believe a lot of NFL teams are thinking about. But judging by his performance, especially this past year, and then watching him at the combine, we have to look at some of the guys in recent history. Nick Chubb is a great example. I believe he tore his ACL twice, maybe once, and then maybe an MCL. I can't remember 100%, but
James Cook's brother, Dalvin Cook.
Oh yeah, there you go. Consider that, and obviously these guys are coming back from ACL injuries in like 6 months, and they're better than they were before. So
the thing about these prospects are you could take a risk on a guy with 2 torn ACLs in the 3rd or 4th round, which is where these guys are probably going to go.
That's the area I have both of them at. I really think that either one of them. And Zamir White could surprise some people. I have him as my 3rd rated running back.
Oh, okay.
Right now, post combine, he jumped way up past a lot of guys, and 4.40 with his size. Jumping into the James Cook conversation, the other Georgia running back, as we already noted, the younger brother of Dalvin Cook. He's from Miami, Florida, attended the same high school as Dalvin Cook in Miami Central. 4-star prospect coming out of high school, considered an all-purpose back, had a ton of offers similar to Zamir White, a lot of the same suspects again, of course, but he did actually commit to Florida State at one point where his brother Dalvin attended. Then he decommitted from Florida State and then committed to Georgia. So there was a little flirtation there. Yeah, I think so, right? I think it paid dividends considering the mess that Florida State has been in.
Considering he got to bust a 70-yard touchdown run in the national championship.
Yeah, he's definitely he shows some special attributes, very similar to his brother Dalvin, especially as a receiver. Watching the Michigan-Georgia semifinal game, seeing James Cook going on a wheel route against a linebacker one-on-one and making a play, and then seeing him line up out wide and making a play against the same linebacker, by the way, one-on-one, you would think that Michigan would figure it out. You need to put a little bit quicker of a player, maybe get Dax Hill out there when you see James Cook lining up out wide and match speed for speed. James Cook also, both these guys have a ton of experience. James Cook, he's appeared in 50 total games at Georgia. Not a lot of wear and tear either. And both these guys, to be real with you, Zamir White, not a lot of wear and tear, a lot of split backfield duties. That's something to consider as well.
All right. Let's talk about first let's look at their stats.
Yeah.
So Zamir White, who was more of the 1A between the two guys. He was like their first down back, right?
Early down work.
Start off as a freshman, 5 yards carry, 408 yards, 78 touches, few touchdowns, not much work out of the backfield and catching the ball. And honestly, he didn't get much work out of the backfield at all catching the ball. Receiving, it wasn't in the game plan for Zamir White's touches. Most receptions he had in a season was 9. And he improved by each year, 2, 6, and 9.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there you go.
Yeah. But his running the ball, his sophomore year, 144 attempts, 779 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. 856 yards his junior year, 5.3 yards carry. And he had 11 touchdowns both those years, back to back. So you see the consistency. This man's he has that skill, and you watch it when you see it in the highlights. He's got that wiggle that you see a little bit. Like, obviously, this is the best at doing it. Like, I'm not saying he is as good as who does it, but like Zeke. Zeke is the guy I go to every time when I think about falling forward for those extra yards. And that's what you get from Zamir White here. That's a master class in that skill. And James Cook, he was a 4-year player. He honestly didn't really bust out until last year. He was 284 yards, 188 yards, 303 yards on the ground. Then last year, he jumped up to 728 yards. But funny enough, he averaged over 6 yards a carry all 4 of those years. So I think that was more of a testament just to how loaded their backfields were rather than him not getting enough touches. Because you saw in the increased amount of touches, he kept those same statistical numbers at 6.4.
Solid offensive line play as well, too.
Yeah, that helps
Scheme.
too.
Yeah.
And then he's a great receiver out of the backfield. He had 284 yards receiving, but a 10.5 yard average with 4 TDs.
That's impressive.
That is impressive, especially in an offense that they would pound the football. It was more about their defense.
Yeah.
Like they did not rely on their offense at all.
Yeah, when you're watching film too, you see a lot of Zamir White as the closer in these games. So late fourth quarter, defenses are worn out. It's a Zamir White show late in games. He's a guy that breaks the late touchdown. It's kind of like the back-breaking play that finally puts an opponent away. So you see that a lot as well from Zamir White.
Yeah, James Cook, he's the spark plug. He's the guy that you put him into space early, and you pray for rain. Like you're just hoping that he is gonna grab a big play in the beginning of the game. You know what I mean?
You pray for that linebacker to split out wide when they take him from the backfield and split him into the slot or out wide, and you're like, okay, there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I'm going.
All right, well, let's go into the play style and scheme fit, Brandon. Let me know the player types here and how you think they should be used.
We'll start with Zamir White, 6 foot, 215 pounds. He's a prototypical style back. We talked about this before the show. We're seeing a lot of the SEC backs who have had a lot more success recently coming into the NFL. They're around 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, and in that 210, 215 pound range. He's considered a power runner. He's got quick feet. He's multifaceted in the run game, so you can use him in a zone, a gap scheme. He's compatible in either one. James Cook comes in 5'11", 199 pounds. He has a lean frame. He kind of looks to me like a slot receiver. He looks a little bit more like a receiver. But as a runner, though, he does show running back attributes. He has the forward lean. He looks like a running back when he's running, but when you line him up out wide, you're like, okay, he looks the part of a receiver too. So he's also, a player that can flourish in either a zone or a gap scheme. You're not really going to count on him between the tackles, though, like you are a Zamir White, even though if the blocking is good, James Cook, give him a little bit of space. He's got the wiggle. He's got the speed. He'll make something happen. Two very different players and very complementary to one another. And I feel like when they get to the NFL, that's the kind of role that they may fall into. You'll see Zamir White, early down work. James Cook, who a little bit more versatile, can line him up out wide like I already discussed. You'll see him running wheel routes a lot of times, or, you could get him on an angle route out of the backfield. So two different players. I feel like they're more situational by nature, but they do have the attributes to do a little bit more.
So let's talk about positional ranking. Obviously, you have Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall above. Now, you're much higher on Zamir White than most other people in this draft class. So you see him above Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White, Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I literally kind of fell into the combine trap with a few players. Not just at the running back position, but at a lot of different positions where I'm like, okay, I told myself going into the combine, I wouldn't let the combine affect me too much, but then it's undeniable when you put on someone's tape and you see what they're able to do on the field and you don't expect to see them run a 4.40. And that's where Zamir White kind of landed. The player comp to me immediately was a Josh Jacobs style player in that kind of mold. When you think of that in this particular draft class, you've got 1A and 1B at the top, Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, who both had outstanding combine performances to kind of solidify their status at the top. You've got some of the other guys behind them. I was looking for that number 3. And it was hard for me because Isaiah Spiller is a special talent as well. That's a player that we're going to look at as we move forward here too. The power, the speed, the weight room warrior. I feel very confident that he could be the third best back in this particular draft class. But there's a ton of guys behind him, 3rd, 4th round talents that could ascend even higher than that. So.
Now, James Cook, you have lower on the board than most people.
Yeah.
See, I think I love James Cook. Adam, sprinkle into an offense that's already established.
Yeah.
He's just that perfect sauce,
Yeah, he gives you he's the complimentary guy. If you can pack a little bit more weight on him, just a hair more, it's kind of like his brother Dalvin. We were just researching that the other day and looking at his weight at the combine being 205, Dalvin Cook. Mm-hmm. He looked a little bit bigger than that, when you watch him. He looks like a bigger back. He is a little bit heavier even now in the NFL. If you can get a few more pounds on James Cook, the similar mindset to a Christian McCaffrey coming in. A lot of people are talking about his durability issues. Can he handle or withstand punishment between the tackles, running consistently? Christian McCaffrey answered a lot of those questions right out of the gate, and he quieted the naysayers. Obviously, he's not staying healthy right now, but he gave you MVP level production early on. James Cook, he possesses some of those traits. I jokingly told you he's kind of the poor man CMC. I can't remember what you said, a homeless CMC. I don't want to say what you said. Never mind.
Like
yeah, something like that. The way that they use him at Georgia, I can see him being used in a similar way in the NFL. But like you said, complementary role.
Yeah, I did. And I have a guy specifically in mind. Similar explosion, similar use in the beginning of his career, has tapered off a little bit because he just got banged up because of his size, which we might see with Cook here too. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with him. He could move up. I don't know. I feel like after evaluating him before the show again, kind of going back through it, I still feel confident about where he is.
Yeah.
Talent-wise, it's undeniable he could ascend and move up a little bit.
Well, let's talk about a more concerning stat, yards after contact. Now, this is a stat that I've used for years to pick running backs in dynasty fantasy football. I want to know in the tough divisions where these guys were taken, how many yards did they pick up after contact? Because some of these guys just line up behind great lines. You know what I mean? And that was the case with Zamir White and James Cook this year. They have really good lines. And they are nowhere near the top of this list.
I will point this out. If you look at like Zamir White's percentage of yards after contact, it's pretty good. And same thing even for James Cook. Kenneth Walker ranks atop the list.
That's the thing with Kenneth Walker, man. He's the only guy that's consistently in all these top fives, in all the categories. That's why I think people are really sleeping on him. That's why he got his own video.
It reminds me of the Jonathan Taylor thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where he fell into the second round, then you ended up with the Chiefs picking up Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and thank goodness that happened, because that would have flipped the NFL world completely on its head, because I don't know what you're going to do when you've got Patrick Mahomes and Jonathan Taylor in that same backfield.
Right?
Imagine that world right now.
Ooh.
We might be speaking a different tune. Like, that could have changed the course of history. So the fact that Patrick Mahomes was stepping up and saying, you know, I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and a lot of that had to do with his ability as a receiver out of the backfield being a little bit better.
Go? Where did that go?
And then you pass on a 4'4", 200 and what is he? 230 pounds now at this point, Jonathan Taylor.
An absolute beast.
Yards after contact. Touching on that one more time. When we watch the film, you're going to see some Zamir White plays where it is after contact. A lot of work after contact. Somebody getting in the backfield making first contact, where he turns a potentially negative play into a positive because of his footwork and his ability to elude a tackler.
Mm-hmm. And we see that in the explosive run plays and the elusive running, force missed tackle rate. I mean, these guys, once again, a little lower on the list. How do we justify with how low they are on each list?
Just think about it like this, though. Kenneth Walker, full-time, always full-time at Michigan State in that backfield, versus Zamir White and James Cook with that kind of a split. When you see Kenneth Walker up there, it's because he's a legitimate bell cow back. And when we look at Zamir White, James Cook, those are good numbers for them relative to the number of touches that they actually get.
Totally. Let's also talk about the passing targets, which obviously we're going to see James Cook very heavily favored here, and but still sitting outside the top 10.
This is where numbers can lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to look at the numbers, the numbers nerds out there that are just kind of like sticklers for just looking at that, not really kind of correlating what the film actually says.
Right.
The Georgia offense is a pro-style offense. It's built like an NFL offense. These guys, based on touches, again, and opportunities. If James Cook were in a different system where he was kind of more of a focal point in the offense, especially like Tyler Beatty getting a lot more opportunities, being, you know, the number one in that backfield. Deuce Vaughn at K-State, another guy, is in that scenario as well. Rashad White. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're getting more opportunities. That doesn't mean James Cook isn't a better receiver. You know, it's just they're getting more opportunities at or near the line of scrimmage and things of that nature. But James Cook, versatility is the next stat that we're going to look at. And this is where he really, to me, kind of separates himself on film. He can literally line up out wide. James Cook with 38 of those 38 of his total snaps lined up, not in the backfield and as a receiver. And I said early on, he looks the part of a receiver when he's lined up out there. This guy can run routes. He can do things like a wide receiver, and he just adds that extra versatility that other guys don't have. They don't have the route running ability, so to speak, right? The ability to get the separation that this guy does.
Now, in these limited touches, are you concerned about the fumble rate?
It's not a high level amount of fumbles for these guys. This is their career. For Zamir White, he had one fumble this past season, and it wasn't a lost fumble. Not that it matters. Any fumbles on film just show a lack of ball security, but it is his tough running style where he's trying to gain that extra yard that people get the opportunity to punch the football out. And you're going to see that more in the NFL, obviously. People are taking after the Darius.
One of the greatest of all time, Adrian Peterson, fought for every yard. That was the classic. Sometimes someone would just run up and pop it right.
Yep. And it can happen. So James Cook, 3 fumbles. I don't think he actually had one in 2021. So
let's talk about player comparisons. So Zamir White, I actually went with your comparison here, and I liked it. I saw a lot of Sony Michel in him.
Yeah.
He fights for those extra yards. He can make the initial guy miss with a quick cut. But once he gets past 5 yards, he's running through folks. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a little shake to him, but he mostly relies on the fall forward yards.
Yeah, it fits the mold, like I said, of these SEC running backs that have been coming in. You know, the 6 foot, 215-pound guys that run. You know, they're running behind their pads. You know, they're looking for contact, but again, they have the footwork to make somebody miss in space, and it shows up in the numbers and it shows up on the film. So yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. Sony Michel. This is probably one of the times where you've actually agreed with me on this.
Yeah.
When it comes to player comps, we didn't overshoot, so to speak, in the mindset. So
well, I wanted to make sure with the receivers we've been giving epic comparisons because we really do think that this receiver draft is that special. We think it could be one of those 2014 years. Yeah. But the running backs, I want to make sure to give very grounded comparisons. Like, I don't see this guy necessarily as just the workhorse. This is a guy that you could pair with another back to have an effective backfield. Both of them in their own separate ways. They obviously, like, honestly, if they got drafted on the same team, they'd be a good combo backfield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? James Cook, though, I really struggled with his comparison. Because obviously there's people out there going to say Darren Sproles because he's a receiving back. There's people out there and be like, he's kind of like a miniature version of his brother because they're dumb. I see Tariq Cohen, but not like I don't necessarily think he's going to fade off like Tariq Cohen. I think it's been a while. People don't remember that initial year when they drafted Trubisky and brought in Cohen. He was lightning in a bottle as a third down back. He really, really did great as a third down back. And this is the type of player that he is. If he gets dropped in the correct backfield and mixture with another back, he could have a nice productive career with a good quarterback out of the backfield.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
I really see that type of electricity. The early years Tariq Cohen out of the backfield and versatility.
And you can do a ton with him, and you can look for matchups with him. You can line him up in the backfield, and coordinators love to move a guy out of the backfield to kind of see if it's zone or man coverage. So he gives you that versatility as well. Teams do it. Saquon Barkley is one of those guys that you can do that with that you have to respect. And as soon as you see Saquon move out of the backfield to the slot or out wide, you have to be like, okay, he instantaneously becomes one of the best wide receivers on the field, right? You already know, okay, if he's out here wide, we got to match him up with the right guy. You end up with the wrong guy on that guy, and we're going to exhibit that on the film review. They can house it.
All right, Brandon, it's time to, well, first, actually, before we do this, as always, we got to break down what we're looking for here. So give me the critical factors for scouting the running back position. What are we going to be looking for in the film?
Yeah, the 3 focal points when scouting the running back position: the vision, contact balance, their 3-down versatility. We basically have covered all of that. Both guys, for example, I can throw it out there, they both exhibit good vision. James Cook, he's a little lacking in the strength department, so the contact balance isn't as high level as Zamir White. Zamir White, that's one of his strengths. He can bounce off of guys. He's one of the guys, yards after contact, that I expect goes into the NFL, and people look at his film and they say, we really like the fact that when he gets hit in the backfield, he doesn't go down. He makes a guy miss, or he bounces off of that tackle, bounces to the open area, finds the daylight, and gains the extra yards. And that's what you're looking at when you're talking about contact balance. And that's what you're looking at when you're talking about vision, because it's one thing to escape a tackle in the backfield. It's another thing to continue to keep your eyes up and know where to go. So vision is one thing. Vision is a lot of different things, by the way. Vision is like letting your blockers set up and being patient. Patience could be part of the equation here as well. Are you a patient runner? But patience and vision, contact balance, all that go hand in hand. The 3-down versatility, Zamir White doesn't give you a lot of 3-down versatility. He's an adequate blocker on third down situations, and he's an okay receiver out of the backfield, which he's going to be making a lot of his money as a receiver at or near the line of scrimmage, screens, swings. We talked about that. But James Cook, he's the one with the potential for high-level 3-down versatility, because you can see that he's a good runner. His weight, that's a concern. But his ability to kind of bounce things outside, use his speed to get the edge.
We've seen many a good back fall to the weight in the NFL.
Yeah, we already know he possesses the receiving ability. In order for him to provide the 3-down versatility, got to be able to run the football and not go down during the initial contact as much. So those are the critical factors. Throw out some comparisons for those guys and try to connect that before we look at the film.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's dim the lights. We're watching Batman, right?
I wish.
You gotta go see it, man. It's great. 10 out of 10.
That's crazy.
It's really good. Really good. They use one of my favorite Nirvana songs, too.
Yeah. I think the producer was talking about, I've read something, he based the character, in this Batman movie off of the lead, who was it? Kurt Cobain? Yeah, there we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about the final grades.
Yeah, for Zamir White, I've got him listed as a solid starter level. So he's in the second tier. He's not instant impact level. Yeah, he's where I think he's going to be even as a pro. He might have a little bit more improvement, especially as a receiver when he's able to exhibit more of what he can do as a receiver. Mm-hmm. And again, scheme fit, situation, that's going to matter wherever he goes. And for James Cook, very similar in that regard. But I do have him as a developmental potential, mainly because I want to see what is he going to be able to do in the NFL as a runner. So I have him as a lower level starter or a situational player as well out of the gate. So developmental potential for him is the grade, but he does have instant impact potential. But I still think he's going to have to be on a team where he's complementary to someone else.
Let's talk about the teams that they would possibly fit on. Well, Zamir White, okay. I'm thinking the the Atlanta Falcons.
There you go.
You had mentioned Atlanta. I think that he would go perfect with Cordero Patterson. Mike Davis didn't really get done last year.
Yeah.
That's a good complimentary back there.
Yeah.
And then we also mentioned the Saints, especially if Alvin Kamara is going to miss a while with suspension. And also, like, we saw what it did for their offense towards the end of the year last year when they had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara together. He's definitely better with a thunder and lightning. It just makes Alvin Kamara more dynamic of a player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good that might be a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, they're going to need potentially some help
out
of that backfield, depending on the Kamara situation. But, I wholeheartedly agree with you on all of those team fits. Now it's a matter of, like, what round they land in. And like we were just discussing, third, fourth, fifth round for either of these two guys is really where the projection stands. I don't see maybe Zamir White late second round potentially.
Maybe
that's where I kind of have
reach,
It's a reach, but it's a possibility because that 4.40 is very intriguing to people.
It is.
So we'll kind of see.
Sexy.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then James Cook, I just hope that he gets dropped into an offense with a coordinator that realizes the special ability that he has.
Oh yeah.
Like Tariq Cohen. For as much as we hated Matt Nagy, his first year in Matt Nagy's offense, Matt Nagy knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
To put a player like that in open space, get him the jet sweeps, like all different types of ways to get him the ball. James Cook needs an offensive mind like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get picked up by, say, the Giants with Daboll, or the Bills, or a good offensive coordinator that has a good eye for talent.
Yep.
You could see San Francisco looking at him in the late rounds. If they're in the 5th or 6th, 7th round, that's a guy Kyle Shanahan would be like, oh yeah, I could work with him.
Yeah, and they're neither one of them are, like I said, they can both flourish kind of in the gap or zone schemes.
Brandon, I think that was a good episode for these guys. I'm looking forward to dig a little deeper in the running back bin this week or next week. Who do we have coming up?
I believe we're going to be doing Isaiah Spiller and Rashad White.
Rashad White, yes, beautiful. I actually am looking forward to those guys. I'm a Pac.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Rashad White is impressive.
Yeah,
so
he is.
He's still not getting a lot of pub yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I think people will get a little bit of hype before the draft, hopefully.
Yeah, so we better record it and get it out there before.
Right? 100%. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in as always. Please check out the podcast. We've been covering some great stuff. We had the Russell Wilson trade break while we were recording the last podcast, so we were able to get that out to you right away. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about these guys down in the comments, where you think they're going to go. As always, shout out Irene. Be out.